Hayek warns that socialism, despite its good intentions, leads to economic stagnation and tyranny by suppressing individual freedom and the market processes that drive prosperity. Well, I think this conclusion really encapsulates what's going on here in the UK. Wednesday, March 26, 2025, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, today the UK's Chancellor of the Exchequer is going to give her spring statement. It's going to be something like half an hour talking about the state of the economy, the state of finances, and it's not good. It's not just me having a go at Rachel Reeves. It's the FT. They say Reeves' gloomy spring statement to set stage for autumn austerity. So what we're going to look at today is the fact that, in my opinion, we're going to have a recession at best in the next 12 to 18 months here in the UK. And at worst, we're going to continue to flounder as an economy and to probably graduate from a recession to a depression. And eventually, we're going to, unfortunately, be on the road, or we're already on the road to serfdom. And unfortunately as well, we tend to think that socialism is the way forward, the fatal conceit, the errors of socialism. So I'm going to recommend these two books by F.A. Hayek, von Hayek, one of the famous Austrian economists, and we'll do a brief summary of them. So I've been warning, not because I want to bash the UK or the UK economy. I've been living here since the early 90s. One of the reasons I came here was I was offered a job in the financial sector in the city of London. It was the place to be. Margaret Thatcher had fixed the UK economy from a basket case in the 70s to a country where people wanted to go to. And unfortunately, for the last 20 years, with the advent of New Labour and then the Conservatives that came after that, who were also New Labour, our economy has gone into, it's taken the wrong path. It's taken, unfortunately, the road to serfdom. And I've got a couple of playlists. One I started, 8 years ago, and I've been warning that the problem is that we have a debt time bomb, and that's not just in the UK, right? All major Western countries have a debt problem. So if you want to look more into that, go into my playlist. I'm going to put this video in that playlist as well. And then for the last 3.5 years or so, I've been warning about UK economic collapse 2021 and beyond. I have a playlist there as well, 26 videos. And it's just like a continuation of the debt situation. But the reason why I thought we were going into collapse, economic collapse, was because of what the government and the central bank did during that crisis that starts with a C, right? I can say it, COVID. It was the final nail in the coffin. It was these two in spades. They stopped people from doing anything. They locked people up for 240 days. They printed money like there's no tomorrow. They lent anyone that could create a limited company billions and billions of pounds, and people created limited companies in their dog's name, and they got 50,000 pounds. It's a total fraud. And not just the public got involved, but the politicians, the whole political class is corrupt, as most of you know, not just here in the UK, but in the US and Europe. So that's why I warned about this. And right now, we had a chance, I guess, to try something back in 2022 with Liz Truss. Unfortunately, she didn't succeed. Her plan might have worked, but one thing I would say, it wouldn't have been any worse than it is now. And unfortunately, what we've got now are a bunch of socialists. And not that we didn't have a bunch of socialists with the conservatives. As I said, they're all like the third way philosophy they follow of Tony Blair, which is 1 foot in socialism, 1 foot in fascism, which is the worst possible thing you can do. So I've seen this morning that the CPI or inflation numbers have come out, and there's a big thing about them, about these numbers being lower than expected, that inflation dropped. But believe me, these numbers are phony. I spoke about it in July of 2022 when the government told the Office for National Statistics to basically change the history of CPI. So I've got a video on that, and I'm going to put it here right now, how they flagrantly changed the CPI. One example is that CPI magically from 1997 to 2020, the average CPI dropped from 2.8 to 1.9 magically, and all the way back to the 40s as well. It dropped over 1% a year, which makes a huge difference. So you tell me, on the ground in the UK, is everything getting cheaper? No, and it's going to get worse. And before we go into the books here, I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple of affiliates that are really important and have been really important for a lot of you, because some of you have looked into it. I didn't tell anyone go and do this and that, but it's made a big change for you financially for your affairs over the last 10 years since I started this channel. One of them, of course, is Gold Investments here in the UK. I think it's more important than ever to have physical gold and silver. And if you want to find out more, or if you want to add on to your stack, and you're here in the UK, I've got details and promo codes below in the description. Gold Investments, they've been in business since 1981. I started dealing with them in 2002 with Mike Temple. Their sons, Oliver and Simon, they run the place now. You can deal online, or you can go physically to their office in London and talk to them. And in the US, I've been affiliated with Miles Franklin for about four years now, and they've also been in business since 1989. And I vouch for Andy and Miles Franklin, and their details are below in the description of this video as well for those of you who are in the US. And if you get in touch with Miles Franklin, make sure Mario or Maneko64 sent you there. Someone asked the other day in the comment section, what's Maneko64? Well, Maneko was a nickname I was given because my dad's name was Mario as well. My surname is Aneko. So to differentiate between my dad and me at home, everyone called me Maneko. 64 is from the year I was born, 1964. So there you go. Why are things not working in the UK? And it's not just the UK. The reason I'm talking about the UK is because I live here and I really love living here. It's my home. The people generally are really friendly and nice. I think the UK has a lot going for it. One of the things is the language and the culture and the tradition that Britain has had. But unfortunately, since the two world wars, things have gone south. Those wars, of course, bankrupted the country. Wars are never good, right? But since New Labour came to power, this mentality of entitlement has gone full throttle ahead. And what do I mean by entitlement? Well, people think that the state owes them everything. They owe them an education. They owe them their health. They owe them like help when they're down. I mean, they owe them, the state has to be there like a nanny to always take care of people. The self-reliance of the British that led them to rule almost the whole, well, a big part of the planet. That's gone out the window, unfortunately, but it doesn't mean it can't come back. I think things go in cycle. So I think that's the underlying problem is socialism and even fascism. They're the same coin. They're two sides to the same coin. The state is always heavily involved in both, and there's very little freedom, liberty, economic freedom, business freedom. And usually there's no sound money because for authoritarian governments like socialist and fascist governments to work, you need control of the money, so you need fiat currency. And it's one of the reasons why I think gold and silver is so important. It's not just about making money, because you don't make money, you make fiat, right? It's about being self-reliant and independence. That's what it gives to you, and it takes you outside of the corrupt financial system as well. So I think that's the problem with the UK and basically all the other Western countries, even the US. US got into welfare socialism back in the 30s with the New Deal. And the only way out, and I'm encouraged by what people like Liz Truss are saying now, or is saying now about what we need to do. It looks like her experience of, I think, 49 days in power and then being really stabbed in the back by the establishment has led her to wake up and realize that bureaucracy, the state, welfare state is too big. The marriage between business and government as well is too big. So Rachel Reeves is speaking today, yes, about the state of the economy. And it's not going to get better. Yes, she's going to push for cutting spending in parts of the bureaucracy, the state. But she's going to get a lot of backlash from the far left wing of her party. And at the same time, they've done nothing to improve business conditions. They're punishing private companies. And from April, companies are going to have to pay more tax, the national insurance employers tax. Rules and regulations are just as bad. And we've got a big elephant in the room, and that's Ed Miliband, the Minister for Energy and whatever and climate change. He's killing the economy here in this country. He's making things unbearable in terms of energy. He thinks the country can run on renewable energies, and that's going to make things a lot worse. So he's the kind of guy who thinks oil and gas and coal are really bad unless these things are produced in another country. It's a totally suicidal economic policy. Yeah, that's the other thing. Climate change and this net zero is just part of the socialism and fascism. And it's the bankers behind it. The bankers, they've always been for control and monopoly, and they like that. And hopefully people are going to wake up, because our energy in the UK is higher than any other country in the world. We pay more for energy. And that's my hope, that people wake up. Well, there's that quote by, I think, Jefferson, people will wake up in the country that their fathers conquered, homeless, right? And literally it's happening here. So I believe that trying to wake people up through information and education is a very good way. It has to come from below. People have to realize that they need to be self-reliant. So I'm going to recommend a couple of books here. One of them, The Road to Serfdom, I read this back in the late 80s when I was still in Switzerland. And I didn't even know about the Austrian School of Economics, but I knew about Hayek. And it's The Road to Serfdom. Very good book. Highly recommend it. And I've done a little summary here on AI. And I asked for a brief summary of The Road to Serfdom. And it says key themes and arguments. Number one, critique of socialism central planning. Hayek argues that socialism and excessive government control over the economy inevitably lead to totalitarianism, even if unintentionally. Yes, sometimes good intentions lead to really bad things. Central planners cannot effectively manage complex economies because they lack the dispersed knowledge held by individuals in a free market system. Number two, the importance of individual freedom. Economic freedom is inseparable from political freedom. When the state controls production, it also controls individuals' choices, leading to oppression. Well, here's Ed Miliband. He wants to control the production of energy. So, competition and decentralized decision-making via prices in a free market are essential for prosperity and liberty. Number three, the rule of law versus arbitrary power. Hayek emphasizes that laws should be general, predictable, and equally applied, not subject to the whims of planners. Well, we saw that trampled upon back in 2020. We're seeing it trampled upon right now with censorship online by the Starmer government. Socialist policies often replace the rule of law with bureaucratic discretion. There you go, eroding freedoms. Number four, why fascism and communism are similar. There you go. Hayek saw Nazi Germany and Soviet communism as different forms of collectivism, both arising from the rejection of liberal individualism. He warned that Western democracies could drift toward tyranny if they adopted similar planning policies. Well, I think we're there, unfortunately. Legacy and influence. Well, Hayek's book became a foundational text for classical liberalism and libertarianism. It influenced post-war free market policies and thinkers like Milton Friedman. I don't agree with Milton Friedman on everything, but there you go. Critics argue Hayek overstated the risks of democratic socialism, but his warnings about centralized power remain influential. There you go. I guess you can get these on Amazon. You could also go to the Mises.org website, which is the Austrian School of Economics Institute in Auburn, Alabama. They have a very good website, and a lot of times you can get a free PDF to read the text. So we're going to be a little longer today, but let's keep going. let's look at the fatal conceit, the errors of socialism. And I did another summary here. So let's look at the key themes. Number one, the fatal conceit. Hayek argues that socialism is based on a fundamental error, the belief that human reason can consciously design an economy better than the spontaneous order that emerges from decentralized markets. This conceit ignores the limits of human knowledge and the complexity of social and economic systems. Spontaneous order. Number two, markets evolve through tradition, trial and error, and competition, not by deliberate design. Prices in a free market system communicate dispersed knowledge that no central planner could ever fully grasp. And that goes to the Bank of England and the Fed. And that's why I'm a huge proponent of ending central banks. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't quite agree 100% with Friedman, because he never talked about abolishing central banks. And he never saw anything wrong with fiat currency and floating exchange rates. Critique of socialism. Socialism fails because it rejects the price mechanism, private property, and competition, essential elements for economic calculation. Without prices, planners lack the information needed to allocate resources efficiently, echoing his earlier, the use of knowledge in society. Well, we're seeing this here happening. They control the price of credit through central banking. They control rents. They control everything. They try to put caps on prices. And even, I guess, President Trump, with his tariffs, is somewhat trying to fix the price of goods and services. Anyway, let's continue. Number four, cultural evolution. Successful institutions like property rights and contracts emerge not from rational designs, but from cultural evolution. Socialism disrupts these evolved norms, leading to economic inefficiency and loss of freedom. And the final one, key theme, moral and intellectual hubris. Hayek criticizes intellectuals and politicians who believe they can reshape society according to abstract ideals, disregarding the wisdom embedded in tradition. And the conclusion here is Hayek warns that socialism, despite its good intentions, leads to economic stagnation and tyranny by suppressing individual freedom and the market processes that drive prosperity. Well, I think this conclusion really encapsulates what's going on here in the UK. With that, I'm going to wish you all a very good day. Take care. Bye.